At first, it was really chill because I still got to talk with my friends. Then again, without Wi-Fi, I probably would have collapsed. But since there's Wi-Fi, I didn't collapse. I mean, I've been able to sustain it in terms of meeting the levels of the certain levels of required improvement in every aspect, I think. And I think that because of the new activities and what the pandemic forced us to do, I think it's made me better as a person and more aware of how I could use technology to my advantage. But aside from that, one of the main struggles that I did have were certain mood swings when I wasn't doing so well. But overall, I think that I'm doing okay academically, if not slightly better than what I could have thought I could have done face to face.
Before the pandemic, I was competing a lot. Like, my type of learning was more of application, not just sitting in the classroom. Actually, if I am to count the number of times that I was out of the classroom that I inside of the classroom, I'm gonna go with like I have more outside the classroom. But it's not because I'm lazy or whatever, because I love attending class. It's just that I feel like my learning is more outside. And my coaches really understood that. So during the pandemic, I had to adjust on what will happen to me. Like, what am I gonna do now? So how am I gonna learn? So not just because I love competing, but because my way of learning, my mode of learning is application, and I cannot learn by just reading something. That's a personal preference, though. So some of the people are, they love online learning. Some of the people hate it. So I'm one of the people who like want academic is so bad because I feel that it's affecting my mental health. I'm not being able to manage my time properly because it's like invading your personal space already, because when you're at home you're supposed to feel at home, but now even your home, even your safe space feels like it's still school, and sometimes you want a stress reliever from school, but hey, even your home now is your school, so where are you gonna go?
Opo, kasi po nakakatakot po talaga kasi po ang COVID-19 po ay delikado. Nakakamatay po siya at madami na pong namatay na tao dahil dun sa pandemic.
I think the pandemic has just severely lessened my motivation to learn, because I feel like, for one, I'm not really learning, because in synchronous classes I can't really focus. I'm just sitting there staring at the screen for 3+ hours. And then during asynchronous, I feel like I'm not learning anything because it was already taught during synchronous, so I'm not learning anything additional. And then all I'm doing aside from teaching myself is homework, and then to no reward. And then it's just tiring overall. I feel like it's an endless stream of work and requirements, even though I know teachers have been trying to be lenient, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a reason. I don't know if it's a result of just the setup, but it just feels endless, and then there's no reward in sight. You don't get to see your friends. There's no fun events to look forward to. It's just like you're in a vacuum where you just have to work and work and work and work. And then the future is so uncertain, so you don't even know what you're working towards. I don't know if I will have a good college experience. I don't know what work will look like, if I'll even be able to pursue the work that I want, because who knows how the world will change because of the pandemic. And then the pandemic just adds stress, even though I'm not going out and I'm probably the least affected demographic by the pandemic, like physically affected, I'm not. It just adds stress because you hear things like, oh, there are 15,000 cases today, and then you can't find solace from the reality of the pandemic, because when you get to school, they're going to be like, oh, please discuss the 15,000 cases today. So there's just no escape from the pandemic. It's just looming over you. And yeah, there seems to be no end in sight for me. I know there will be an end, but then it just feels like there's not.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming, But aside from that, there have been a lot of times where I've been overwhelmed by this. And I get to the point where my performance would just overall decrease, and I would probably go through another mood swing. Not really a yay moment.
Sometimes, like right now. But most of the time, it's pretty manageable. Basta you do it at the right time, and you don't let it pile up. It's fine.
Yes. I don't think it's the amount of the requirements. I think it's the nature of the requirements. So in grade 11, we have a lot of reports and group projects that just take a long time. So even when you're done with homework that's easy to do, you're never really finished. I don't think I've ever seen my Google Classroom inbox go 0, 0, 0, 0.
I used to be very productive. Like I can go on 11 hours without 11 to like 20 hours without looking on my phone, just doing the task, attending trainings, catching up from classes that I missed because of competitions. I can do that before, but now I feel like 1 hour of class, 1 hour of sitting in online class feels like, oh my god, when is this gonna end? Like sometimes I feel that way, and I know like a lot of sometimes in our group chat, in my friends group chat, we feel like, oh my god, I'm so tired today, and it's only 8:30 in the morning. Like how are we so burnt out already? And I have classmates who deactivated their social media and just ask us for updates, or like they just have like their Discord and Google Classroom because they feel like staying on when they have social media, they are just like skipping academic work and they feel guilty for not being able to finish their task. So our mental health, I mean, even if we reason it out that, hey, I'm not feeling good today, I feel like people around you will just say that, come on, just do it. I mean, because in the Philippines, that's how we see mental health, right? Mental health struggles. People see that as just kaartehan or whatever. But do I feel burnout? Yes, I feel burnout. Do I feel anxious sometimes that I'm not going to pass my class? Yes. Do I feel sad sometimes because I want to see my classmates so bad? Yes. Am I feeling like I'm less of a student than I was before the pandemic? Yes, and it's okay to feel that way because that's how I feel, and I don't have to I don't have to explain that to others nor to justify what I feel. You said a while ago that poor quality education. So the question here, my first question is that, are we getting quality education in terms of the pandemic? Right? Like that's the question. So if the answer is yes, then is there a need for academic freeze? But I think I speak for majority of the people when I said no, that it's not very quality. I mean, it's education, but it's not that quality. And then academic freeze, if it refers to pausing the whole academic year until the pandemic is over, until we can go back to face-to-face classes, do I agree with it? I'm not very sure because you have to consider a lot of factors when it comes to calling for a certain action to stop the current education. When you call for academic freeze, you have to consider the teachers, the educators. I mean, we already have a lot of Filipinos who lose their job. If academic freeze would mean that they will not be getting the salary that they deserve and they worked hard for the last year or even now, then is it worth it? I mean, it's still a question. I'm still on the process of thinking if that's the right move or not. I don't have like a definite yes or no, but I have like a lot of questions inside me that I just want to share, like things that you have to consider before you call for it. But aside from academic freeze, I think for now what I can suggest is academic is like, just a little break, give students a little break, or maybe lessen the activities. Despite having to follow the DepEd modules, my teachers are still removing some of the activities because they feel like it's too heavy for us. So they are trying to lessen our work. So that's like one thing that they can do, that the educators can do for the students. What I'm trying to say is that before we try to call for anything that will do something on the quality education, we have to consider first, what are the effects of that? What will happen to the students? And not just to the students, because when you say education, you're also referring to the educators and the school administrators.
Sa akin po, ipapa-academic freeze ko po dahil po yung iba po nalilate po sa pag-aaral dahil po di po nakakapagbayad, wala po silang pera at sa pagkain.
Part of me thinks now it's good because this situation is kind of hard, and sometimes you get to the point na parang you're paying to just teach yourself. But another part of me thinks na that 1 year, parang medyo masasayang din. Ano rin gagawin mo in 1 year? You can't watch TV, binge Netflix for an entire year. So there's nothing else you can really do. I'm kind of torn. Yes, I agree with that. Because I agree with that sentiment. Because you can't just think about yourself or the people like you who have the privilege to be able to study. You have to think of the others then. Because if maiwan sila o ano, that's gonna affect the future then. That's gonna affect the future leaders, yung mga businesses, ganun. Feel ko kasi if students are left behind, they won't be able to get the same opportunities. They'll miss good opportunities that others who continued studying got.
Makakatulong pa rin siya. Kasi malaki yung posibilidad na maraming incompetent students ang makagraduate ngayong taon or makatapos, kunwari, grade 11 from grade 11 to grade 12. Parang nagiging incompetent sila kasi yun nga, puro requirements. Kapag nakapagpasa ka ng requirements, okay ka na. Hindi sure kung natuto ka ba talaga or ginaya mo lang yung gawa mo, ganyan, to pass your requirements. Tapos, kaya gusto ko din talaga ng academic freeze. Tapos yung nabanggit ko nga kanina, nawawalan ako ng gana. Parang walang kwenta na makatapos ako ngayon kung hindi ko na masyadong na value yung kung ano ba yung pinag-aaral ko ngayon.
I want academic freeze, but I also see how that would not be helpful. Because, especially for people who are more privileged, because you have this time, you have the resources to study, but you're gonna spend it doing what? You're just gonna stay at home. You're wasting your potential to learn in this time where you could be learning. But I think it's also really necessary because a lot of people are having a hard time coping with the pandemic. I'm really privileged and I'm having a hard time. What more people who are not as privileged as me, but who have to face the very real and physical and looming dangers of the COVID pandemic. So I think an academic freeze would be helpful for everyone, but it would pose some challenges. But I think it's important for us to have an environment of understanding that a pandemic is not something that you can just shrug off. I know everyone's dealing with it, but just because everyone's suffering doesn't mean that the suffering didn't have an impact or that the suffering is okay. I think we still have to recognize that we're all having a hard time and we should be kind to ourselves and other people to accommodate the sufferings we have endured and just be understanding that even though you suffered and maybe it wasn't that bad for you, that doesn't mean that people reacted the same way as you or it didn't affect them as badly as it did you.